Hello, you guys. How are you all? Thank you guys for being here. Hey, cutie pie. Oh, thank you. Hey, preschool granny. Hey, David. Hey, Adrian. Hey, Sparkles. Pointer lover. K-Braze. Hey, Angela. Let's see. Hey, Jelly baby. Nana, Trulia. Good to see you guys. Show me Otani. Hey, Christine. Hey, Miss Upper Thigh. Claudia. Harlot. Good to see you. Hey, Melanie. Hey, Shauna. Rexy. Let's see. Don't want to miss anybody. So today I had a few things that I wanted to do today. Hey, Mayla's mom. Hey, Neat Noodle. Well, there have been all kinds of things added to the docket of Adam Montgomery, and I think at some point I want to go over that before the trial. Also, I want to go over some of the original interviews with Harmony's mom, and I was trying to get them in order for us to go over. But then I also wanted to talk about this stuff that happened yesterday. Hey, Tammy. So, hey, Mr. Tomato Head. Yesterday was a big day. There were a few things that happened, and specifically for this live, I wanted to talk about both Delphi and Chad Daybell. Hey, Rainbow Mom. Struggle is real. Hey, Cricket. So I was shocked yesterday at both of these things, and I thought, okay, maybe we can do like a quick review of just some of the parts of what happened yesterday. And then to make it interesting, go through the comment sections, the Twitters, and see what people think, see what you guys think. I am really interested in this, in both. I can't believe that Richard Allen got his attorneys back. And I also, hey, Robbie, cannot believe that Chad Daybell's attorney can't get off the case. So that is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to look at the comments and just kind of hang out and have fun, that kind of thing. So much yesterday. I know. Hey, Teacup. So let me see here. I think we're going to start with Richard Allen. Oh, yeah, Christine. So yesterday, Richard Allen got those two attorneys back that were dismissed. So we have not done Delphi here like in depth. Criminality has done extensive coverage if you guys want to catch up with every step along the way. However, we have talked about, that, what did they call it? The huge, like 100-page document the defense put out with all those accusations of Odinism and all that stuff. We did talk about all of that. So those attorneys who filled out that motion were removed from the case, and people were pissed. A lot of people feel like this doesn't appear to be fair, and a lot of people feel like Richard is to blame. Some people do not. But regardless, the way that situation went, there were a few things set off record, and people felt like the attorneys should be reinstated, and they were. And then Chad Daybell's attorney asked to be off the case, said he cannot afford, Chad cannot afford to pay him. He's not being paid. In order to be paid by the state, in the state of Idaho, you have to be death penalty qualified. Even though John Pryor is qualified, he's not, he didn't do that certain certification or whatever. So he technically cannot be paid by the state. And they kept him on the case, I guess, without any pay, So it's very interesting. Mayla's mom, I'm not convinced Alan is the guy. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Mama JP. Okay, so we're going to start with Richard Allen just because I already have a few things pulled up here. I also have, I'm just going to flip through my tabs and show you what we're going to look at. Nadine is going to talk about some of the stuff with Chad, which there was a really interesting part at the end caught. We also have East Idaho News pulled up and ready at the part where the judge is telling his decision. Well, Chad Daybell walked over to the prosecutors and people heard him say something about a deal, agreement. We're ready to talk about it. I'm going to play Nadine talking about that. But before we get into that, we're going to go through some Twitter stuff on Richard Allen. But the very first thing, I pulled up this article to show you guys. It's just like a brief description of everything. I think it's definitely Allen, but he had help. Hey, B Crumbs. Hello, True Crime Crazy. Hello, everyone on this snowy day listening while sewing on a blanket. Oh my gosh. I cannot say enough how much I love that blanket, and I love you and I appreciate you so much. It meant the world to me. And hold on one second. Speaking of Bentley. um, but no, we love the blanket so much. It's so cozy. It's so cute. If you guys didn't see it, it's on my community tab. True Crime Crazy made Bentley a blanket. And I always tell Bentley that he saved my life because that is what brought me into recovery and stuff. And he's very proud of that. So she wrote that on the blanket. It's very sweet. Yeah, he's like sitting in between the floors watching and listening to music. But anyways, I wonder if Alan had help. That's where I'm at with him. You guys, I'm not convinced that he's the one. I'm just not. Especially when we look closer at some of the people named, what was it called? The memorandum and the defense memorandum or whatever. Some of the other people they kind of pointed the finger at, and you look a little closer at them. I don't know. I think it's all feeling a little sketchy. Hey, Tess, my grandson is Bentley too, and he saved my life too. Oh, Cricket. I love that. That is sweet. Hey, Forgets and Shiggles. Frank's memorandum. Is that what it's called? Mayla's mom. Thank you, guys. Always keeping me in line. Look, I'm no professional. I've told y'all that a million times. I am just B Crumbs, a redneck mom that loves true crime and loves hanging out with you guys and likes to talk about it. So, okay, let me read this to you guys, and then we'll get into some people's thoughts on it. I also think I have some. Yeah, I do actually. A court TV thing pulled up as well for us to look at, a video that came out about this. And that the only reason I pulled that up was for the comments, but I will share the link with you guys in case you haven't seen it. And also, this article I'm going to drop at the end, and there are videos attached to it as well. Okay, so the Indiana Supreme Court ordered that Richard Allen's original defense team be reinstated on the high-profile murder case after Judge Fran Gull previously removed the pair for being grossly negligent. On Thursday, attorneys representing Allen, Gull, and the Indiana Attorney General's office pled their case before the Indiana Supreme Court surrounding a myriad of issues that ground the highly publicized case to a halt. Now, I just want to pause here for 1 second and say, I do know he had already been appointed 2 new attorneys who had already filed their first motion, and they do agree with the attorneys that had been taken off the case. So that's very interesting. Allen is charged with 2 counts of murder in the February 2017 deaths of Abby Williams and Libby German on the Monon High Bridge in Delphi. He and his attorneys have been pushing to remove Judge Fran Gull from proceeding over the case after the judge dismissed his original defense team. Gull has argued her removal of the defense team was warranted due to finding the attorneys grossly negligent after an evidence leak attributed to one of the attorneys led to crime scene images appearing online. So I believe what it was they had some pictures spread out on a table, and someone was able to get a picture of that. And like I said, I know that Criminality has covered that in depth. So if you want all the details of that, that is the place to go. Hey, Music City Mom. Hey, Evan, let me drop her link, actually. Actually, they quit before the hearing to remove them. Right, and I heard, so I listened to Christina Randall read the transcript when that came out, what happened like behind closed doors. And she almost kind of like, I don't want to say threatened, but I think they felt they were going to be publicly embarrassed. Hey, Crystal, the Odinism stuff, I don't believe that. Kathy says the Supreme Court arguments were so interesting. Hey, Roxanne. Oh, I can't wait to see what you guys think. Okay, so let me keep reading through this a little bit. So Allen, meanwhile, has contended that Gull overstepped her authority by removing his chosen defense team and setting back his trial by nearly a year. The Indiana Attorney General's office previously weighed in on the high-profile case by arguing that Allen's move to bring his complaint before the Indiana Supreme Court was the improper legal avenue, and that Allen and his defense team should instead be using the appeal process. While the Indiana Supreme Court ultimately sided with Allen about the reinstatement of his defense team, the court did not remove Gull from the case. The court also denied Allen's request to order the double murder trial to commence within 70 days. Standing before the High Court on Thursday, Mark Lehman argued on behalf of Allen. This was a point that was also mentioned in our hearing with Daybell that we're going to talk about. Oh, hey, Amber. There's another channel who has covered Delphi, and I think you guys would really enjoy her channel, so go check it out. The Nightbot's going to drop it now, but let's see. That was, oh yeah, I was saying that was another point that was brought up during Daybell's hearing. You know, he does have the right to choose his attorney. That you have a right to an attorney in this country, and you have the right to have the attorney that you choose. Lehman clarified that he did not believe the attorneys were proven to be ineffective or incompetent, and that the leak of evidence did not jeopardize the original defense team's trial strategy. The High Court mulled this point by stating that if a defendant had the right to represent themselves, even if a judge did not recommend it, then could not a defendant equally have a right to waive any concerns with their counsel and keep said counsel if made aware of these concerns? Part of Lehman's argument was also that by removing Allen's original defense team of Bradley Rossi and Andrew Baldwin, the court had jeopardized their strategy of invoking a speedy trial and catching the prosecution on their back foot, quote unquote. The High Court pointed out, however, that Rossi and Baldwin had 2 months to file for a speedy trial and never did. This is more than just a choice of counsel case. This is an interference of counsel. This is the right to counsel itself, because the right to counsel is meaningless if a judge can step in and say, stop all work. Then we have Matt G. arguing on behalf of Judge Fran Gull, continued to advocate that the trial judge had the authority to remove Allen's counsel due to ineffectiveness and worries about conflict of interest. Matt G. also pointed out that Gull was prepared to hold a hearing to judge if the attorneys were negligent or not in their handling of the case, but Rossi and Baldwin chose to withdraw from the case instead of taking the matter before the public in a hearing. Now, this is that conversation we were talking about that happens, closed to the public, just prior to this hearing that was supposed to happen. One of the main concerns mulled by the High Court and Matt G. was whether allowing Allen to waive his concerns and keep Baldwin and Rossi on board as his defense team would just open up the case to be appealed later, with Allen turning around and arguing that he went to trial with ineffective counsel. We already have a polluted jury pool because of the inordinate pretrial publicity that this case has garnered, and the further disclosure of highly confidential inflammatory material further pollutes that jury pool, Matt G. said. Now, before we continue, I will say this case has gotten a ton of attention. It's just a high-profile case. Those cases are tried fairly all the time. That's just the truth. Christine says, I know Odinism is real. I just don't think it has anything to do with this. So let me ask you guys, if the perpetrator wanted this to look like Odinism, but they were not actually Odinists or people who knew all that much about it, I wonder if they would have research about that religion in their electronics and stuff. Gull's mistake was being nice and letting them quit before having the hearing, says Mr. Tomato Head. Tess says the judge is sketchy. What'd Jamie say? Let's see. I for sure don't like how he doesn't have easy access to his attorneys, and they have made it difficult for them to visit him. He needs to be where they can effectively defend him. So he's saying he won't get a fair trial because just pool polluted, Rexy says. Well, yeah, somewhat. Hey, Steph sells stuff by the seashore. Get me tongue twisted. Okay. So then we have Angela Sanchez. She was representing the Attorney General's office. She argued her office's stance that Allen was pursuing the incorrect legal avenue and that the appeal process was the proper course of action. Sanchez also questioned whether the court truthfully knew what exactly it was Allen wanted, since his desires to keep Rozzi and Baldwin were presented to the court secondhand. "Quote unquote secondhand." She questions Allen's competence and understanding in making such an impactful decision of waving away the concern of ineffectiveness and negligence brought forward by Gull about his counsel. Lehman rebutted this, however, by pointing to a letter sent by Allen to the court where he argued to keep Rozzi and Baldwin as his counsel despite the evidence leak. Chief Justice Loretta Rush said, quote, "I'm really struggling with why Allen can't make that decision if that's in his best interest and lets this case get moving again," unquote. Sanchez pointed out that the Indiana Supreme Court has no absolute duty to order anything in hearing these arguments on Thursday. Lehman stated his client would accept whatever the ruling is. After hearing all arguments, the High Court adjourned to discuss the case and said the court would come to a decision as soon as possible. Several hours later, the court released their decision by ordering the reinstatement of Rozzi and Baldwin, but denying Allen's other request to remove the judge and order the trial commence within 70 days. As of now, the trial remains set for October. And then I'm going to give you this link so you guys can, let's see, hopefully it's not too long. Okay. "If Allen had help, he'd have turned him over by now," said Girl Next Door. "I think it's entirely possible that Allen is guilty, but that doesn't negate his right to a fair trial, and the judge was out of line, in my opinion." Let me grab, there was one other link I didn't, like at the beginning when I showed you the tabs I wanted, like the videos and stuff I had pulled up. There was one from Court TV that I did not have. And I'm going to play just a second of that so I can get my stuff together and move outside. And then we're going to get into the comment section, what you guys think about it and other people who are at home viewing this. So, let's see, we have Court TV. I think it's right here, yes. Okay, so we're not going to watch all of this. We're just going to watch a couple minutes, like I said, so I can get my stuff together and go outside. And then also just so we can get a little idea of, like, I want a good, just a little bit of everything, just so we have good perspective.
We have breaking news from Indiana in the Delphi murders case.
The state Supreme Court has made a key ruling in Richard Allen's case. Court TV senior producer Barbara McDonald was inside the courtroom for today's hearing and has the breaking news update. All right, Barbara, great to see you. Thanks for joining us. What can you tell us?
Have already issued a ruling. It took them 3 hours and 45 minutes after the hearing ended today to file a published ruling with the court. Those of us who were in attendance in the court today did get an update about that. And basically, they are reinstating the original defense team of Bradley Rozzi and Andrew Baldwin. That was one of 3 requests that Richard Allen had. The other 2 requests to replace the judge and to set the trial within 70 days of their decision, they unanimously deny. It is also worth noting.
Okay, so just a second. JD, it's not too cold here right now, and the sun's out, so it's making it a little bit warmer. Hey, girl next door. Mr. Tomato said, Mr. Tomato said, watch, they say he's mentally competent now, but we'll say he was mentally incompetent when he confessed. Hey, Stevie Grace. She says, I finally caught alive again. I feel like I've been missing so many of them, but glad to be spending my snow day with you all instead of working in it. This case is only a couple of hours for me. Hey, Danielle. Michael says, I think the judge was doing the right thing to move them from the case because they evolved evidence of this case and they didn't have it under lock and key. Rexy says he shouldn't be in prison in the first place. All struggle is real. Thank you for being a member for 8 months. Okay.
Voting, it was a majority opinion, not a unanimous opinion, that restores Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin. Both of them were in the court for today's hearing. They were not part of the actual hearing. They did not argue anything on behalf of Richard Allen. This is a picture I took of them prior to the hearing beginning. They looked confident. They looked comfortable. After the hearing, they appeared relaxed. They were congratulating, or not congratulating, but they were talking with the attorney who did argue on their behalf, Mark Lehman, and
Wow.
they were exchanging hugs and handshakes and seemed to feel like everything went really well. And apparently it did go well for them today, because it took just 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Wow, I'm still shocked. I still cannot believe this is the decision they came to. Amber says, I think it's good. He got his lawyers back if he wants them, but I think it's off to a rough start now. I agree. I think it's good he got him back. If he wants them, these are the attorneys that he chooses. They already know, they had been working on it already for some time now. I don't know. Patricia says, I believe Allen is 100% guilty, and this could be a psychopath's playing of the system and media. So I'm not buying all this pathetic nonsense. Interesting. People are so split on this. I think Kathy said at one point, people are so black and white, and that is kind of how it seems. Rexy, he has been abused by Odinist guards in prison. Red Charm, the bullet did not go through chain of custody. I don't see how law enforcement can use the bullet as evidence. Oh, that's a whole nother topic too, and that I find really interesting. I guess we're going to have to wait and see to see how the trial kind of plays out. They don't have a ton of evidence against him as far as what we know so far, and we don't know everything. That's something else. Like with these trials, even if it's a state where they're releasing a lot, there's still going to be stuff that nobody knows. So I've talked about this with Letitia's case, but Gannon's mom said she was surprised at some of the things she heard. She did not know all that stuff. The whole bullet thing stinks, says Unseen. Mr. Tomato Head, she could just turn around and have a hearing to dismiss them and not let them quit this time beforehand. All right, let's listen for one more minute, and we're going to get into other people's opinions on this.
For the court to come back with a majority opinion that Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin should in fact be reinstated. Now, this means that Richard Allen's trial, which is scheduled for October of this year, is going to go forward with these attorneys and the same judge who removed them, and who these attorneys have accused of being biased, not only against them.
Mayla's mom says, Alex, they amended charges, right? He now has 6 charges. Okay, so that confused me a little bit. I also have an article about that. Let me grab it. Because I guess 2 new murder charges. I'm a little confused with all of that, but I did pull an article for it, so let me grab it while she finishes.
But also of their client. So a lot of very interesting developments. It was a rare hearing at the Supreme Court to take up a matter like this prior to it even getting to trial. And then to come back with a ruling so fast, everybody expected a ruling within a couple of weeks, which they thought would be very fast. This took, again, 3 hours and 45 minutes. Michael, Judge?
Well, Barbara, let me ask you this. We just saw there were 5 of, we know, the justices sitting to make this decision.
Correct.
And I just wanted to ask your thoughts, because I know you are all things Delphi and you have followed this case. You've been intimately involved. What do you think of the fact that it was a split decision, that 2 of the requests were denied, that it is simply these attorneys go back to representing Allen, which I think is Richard Allen, which I think is the right thing, because that.
Okay, so just a second. Let me see. This is the article. Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen faces 4 new charges. Why that matters. Delphi suspect Richard Allen was charged Thursday with 2 additional counts of murder and 2 counts of kidnapping in the 2017 killing of Libby and Abby. Prosecutors first charged Allen with murder while committing a felony in October 2022. But prosecutors did not file the charge of kidnapping the girls, the felony alleged in the initial murder charges, until Carroll County prosecutor Nicholas McLeland did so Thursday afternoon. From what I've read, I believe that the punishment might be the same, but let me just keep reading. Prosecutors also added 2 counts of murder, which is defined as knowingly or intentionally killing another person, according to Indiana law. The distinction between the 2 types of murders is that murder in the commission of a felony accuses Allen of kidnapping Libby and Abby, forcing them off the trails east of Delphi near the bridge, and in the process of the kidnapping, the girls were killed. Under that charge, prosecutors wouldn't necessarily have to prove Allen was the actual killer. So this is not this. So the article I grabbed earlier didn't come through in my folder. So this one sounded like that one. But it does go into the punishment. I don't think this is the same. And this one kind of explains it better. If convicted on all 4 counts, here it is. If convicted on all 4 counts of murder, he can only be sentenced on 2 murder counts, and all 4 charges carry the same possible sentence, between 45 and 65 years in prison. Additionally, the kidnapping charges carry a possible prison sentence of between 3 and 16 years. Hey, Chopper. You know, even though Richard got his old team back, I'm sure glad he gets the same judge. People are so split on this. So let's go over to Twitter and we're going to look, like, I thought that would be fun, kind of looking at the comment sections, looking at other people's opinions and thoughts on this. So I just hit the latest. Let's see. New York paralegal about the 4 new charges. All 4 attorneys are now reflected on the docket. Let's see. Additional murder charges. We're not seeing a whole ton of opinions. Let's go to the top. Jennifer Coffindaffer said, this is not even about, well, she tagged Richard Allen. Confirmed. She said Cletus called it early on as well. It was such a great opportunity to see arguments before a state Supreme Court. Confirmed my belief in the justice system after Richard Allen had his 6th Amendment rights restored after they had been trampled on. It was clear from minute 1. That's pretty interesting. Let's see what Cletus said. 30 seconds.
Cut the eye, man. I got to keep fighting. And they can't. Ladies and gentlemen, this one could not wait. All right, so I'm coming to you live from way down in the holler, and I got to tell you, what a great day
in
for
the
true
holler
crime entertainment. We had Richard Allen versus Judge Gull in the Supreme Court boxing match. It was fucking awesome. Defense came out a little weak. They got beat up the first couple rounds. They went into the corner, and they had fucking the ring man patch up their little eye cuts, cut the eye, man. I got to keep fighting. And they came back like Rocky, and I think they fucking won. I bet you they're going to reinstate them judges, folks. Them lawyers, fuck whatever.
Okay, interesting. Baldwin's going to get eaten up and spit out of that courtroom. His career is over, says Michael. Tess said he's feisty. Anon, holler. I think of Ben Hill. I think of that. What Melissa said. Melissa wasn't sure what a holler was. And she said the cleavage of the land comment. Okay, let's keep going though. I like to see from other people. Okay, here's Sleuthy Goosey. She says, I'm thinking Gull is going to recuse herself, which is why they didn't discuss it today. And the relief wasn't granted to remove her. Like a resign before you're fired thing. I said what I said. JLR tweeted about it and talks about them demanding for Richard to be moved to a county jail, alleging that he's being shackled like Hannibal Lecter. I had not seen that yet, so I'm not going to get into that. The Unraveling said Mark Lehman, Kara Weinecke, and Bernice Corley for your dogged pursuit of justice. Sleuthy, you can't wear Odin patches anymore, Mr. James. Bet. I'll go get this Odin tattoo and then put it directly on my face. Goes and gets tattoo. October 24th, 2023. Nothing to see here, folks. Oh, well, that's quite interesting. Wow. Okay. Grizzly. Jennifer Coffindaffer, more charges against Richard Allen concerning Abby and Libby. Fair enough, but the timing? This is the court paperwork, I'm assuming. Let's see. Neat Noodle says, I don't think she will remove herself. Hope I am wrong. A new judge would make it more fair. Well, I'm not going to try to make that load. Chris, the Daily Vlogger, says, today it was announced that the Indiana Supreme Court will officially reinstate Richard Allen's previous attorneys. And there's that photo that everybody knows, that came out when they were talking about the treatment that he's getting. Patricia says his charges would not increase if the evidence they already have was in doubt. Whether he's seen as innocent until proven guilty or vice versa is not as vital as the safety and lives of children. My daughter's boyfriend comes from a holler in Tennessee. Okay. We'll just do a little more of this and then we'll switch gears a little bit and talk about Daybell. Sleuthy tweeted, unreal. And this, she puts part of from a motion in here, and it says Mr. Allen expressed concern that he was receiving medications and that he was unsure what he was being given or why, as he had not recently seen a physician. He also stated that whatever medication he receives, he does not always get the same type or number or size or color of pills. Jennifer Coffindaffer. Now that was quick. Richard Allen will get his attorneys back, as it should be a victory for the Sixth Amendment. And I shared this yesterday on the community tab. It was actually a post of Amber's that she shared, and I just shared it. And this is the ruling. Richard Allen seeks relief from this court under the rules of procedure for original actions. He has requested a permanent writ of mandamus, asking this court to, 1, order the trial court to reinstate his former trial counsel attorneys, 2, order the trial court to commence his trial within 70 days from the issuance of the writ, and 3, remove the special judge from his case and appoint a new special judge. Having considered the written submissions and having heard the arguments of counsel, a majority of the court votes to grant the petition for writ as to Realtor's request to reinstate attorneys Baldwin and Rozzi as his court-appointed counsel. The court unanimously denies all other relief sought. The court will promptly issue a written opinion explaining its reasons. The pendency of this matter in this court does not stay the proceedings in the trial court. Okay. So now I want to talk a little bit about Daybell. And I'm also going to do the same thing and go through and get people's opinions on this and stuff. So not long ago, Richard, let me see if I can pull up an article instead of trying to memorize it off the top of my head. We talked about it over here, though. I almost called him Richard Pryor. John Pryor put in a motion for Chad Daybell to be taken off the case, because Chad has been indigent for quite a while now. He is not being paid. He's asked for assistance. He's not gotten assistance. He cannot be paid by the state because he's not death penalty qualified. So he had put in a motion to be removed from the case. Yesterday, there was, quite a long court hearing. Not all of it was put out to the public, but the ending is what I wanted to play for you guys, which is where the judge makes his decision. And I cannot even describe how absolutely shocked I was listening to this. I don't know why, because attorneys, had said it's likely that he won't be taken off the case. It's so close to trial. He's been on it for so long. He already knows the case so well. He may be forced to finish it out. Now he gets up and says, even though I think we read through I'm pretty sure we read through the motion on here, but then Pryor gets up and kind of gives this confusing argument that doesn't really line up with his motion, where he says, I want to stay on the case and I don't care to get paid. And, but I'm not getting paid. And is it unfair that I'm not getting paid? Yeah, it's pretty unfair. Richard Pryor. Big groans. Okay. So let's listen to the end part. This is just very interesting.
The court has before it the defendant's counsel's motion to withdraw filed on January 11th. I've considered the motion along with the declaration in support of the motion. I've also considered the objection from the state. We conducted a hearing today where I heard argument from the counsel, Mr. Pryor, in support of the motion, the objection by Ms. Blake from the state. Also conducted a closed portion of proceedings and an ex parte inquiry of Mr. Daybell and Mr. Pryor, and I've taken all that into consideration in determining the ruling on the motion. The court first is governed by Idaho Criminal Rule 44.1, which under paragraph A talks about leave to withdraw. And I'll just quote that section. No attorney may withdraw as an attorney of record for any defendant in any criminal action without first obtaining leave and order of the court on notice to the prosecuting attorney and the defendant, except as provided in this rule. Leave to withdraw as the attorney of record for a defendant may be granted by the court for good cause. So we've gone through the procedural steps to get here for this to be properly considered. The rule allows the court discretion where it indicates the court may allow for withdrawal, and then looking at the standard of for good cause. So the court will first note to clarify in this case, this is a capital case. Idaho does have a separate rule governing the appointment of attorneys who are on a roster that are considered qualified to represent counsel or represent defendants in capital cases. That's Criminal Rule 44.3. And importantly, that rule only applies when a defendant is represented by a public defender appointed by the court, and does not apply when a private attorney is retained in the case. And also importantly, where the court made reference earlier to questions about the mitigation phase, if that were to occur in this case under Idaho Code 19-2515, an inquiry to Mr. Pryor. And I'll note, and Mr. Pryor has correctly pointed out, that the ABA guidelines do apply to public defenders. They are not necessarily required to be followed by private counsel. Private counsel under Idaho rules are allowed to take on a case, capital case.
Stevie, I don't understand that either.
Those guidelines may or may not be elected to be followed by a private attorney. Mr. Pryor clearly is a private attorney in this case, has never been appointed or publicly paid for representation of Mr. Daybell. Mr. Daybell, importantly, does have the right under the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution to counsel, and included in that right is to have the counsel of his choice. And Mr. Daybell elected a very long time ago to have Mr. Pryor represent him in this case. In fact, Mr. Pryor has agreed to take the case and has represented Mr. Daybell not only through the initial stages of the case here where the indictment was returned, but also in a previous companion case, and for I think about 3.5 years now has represented Mr. Daybell. The court then going back to consideration of the motion before the court. There's an issue here that's been raised by the state about the timing, and of course the court joins in that concern also. Mr. Daybell has been incarcerated since June 9th, 2020. We've got a trial scheduled in 2 months. Mr. Daybell's asserted his right to that trial, and although he has waived his right to a speedy trial, certainly this case has taken a long time to get to trial, and at some point, even with a waiver of speedy trial, the court has to consider the timeliness of a defendant in custody being granted their opportunity for a timely trial. That right also applies to the state, and the state's right to seek justice for victims, to seek a conviction if they believe they.
Okay, we're going to keep listening. I just want to pause for a moment. Patricia says, don't forget this is a high profile case. These defense lawyers definitely want to stay on. And that's a good point. Sometimes, I mean, look at Jose Baez with the Casey Anthony case. Sometimes, or Camilla with was that her name, Camille? I don't know. I wasn't as closely following the Johnny Depp situation as you guys. But some of these attorneys build entire careers off of these high profile cases. However, Pryor has already been on this one for quite a while, and people already know him because of that, you know? So I don't know, but that is a fair point.
We have the evidence to do that and to not have to wait through unnecessary and unreasonable delays in bringing a case to trial. So the court has a duty to try to timely administer cases. And while the rules generally slow things down a lot, there are reasons for that. But at some point, the court has to consider the timing here. That's the big issue with this motion, quite frankly, is a brief continuance, because what would occur if I grant this motion and Mr. Pryor withdraws from the case, then under Criminal Rule 44.3, the court is required to appoint 2 capital qualified public defenders, absent Mr. Daybell having some manner of, again, rehiring a private new attorney or getting one to do it pro bono. The issue there is Idaho has a sparse number of attorneys on that roster, and Idaho is currently experiencing a lot of cases that are already resulting in appointments of a lot of
Brian Koberger being one of them, right?
Available attorneys.
Jeremy Bett.
And quite frankly, I don't have any idea who would be appointed of the 2. I don't have any idea when we could get them appointed. But what I do know is the trial would have to be vacated and would have to be continued, and I think likely for a long time.
Okay, so after this, I will play out the rest so we can get to Nate, but I want to address Tess's comment because we did not listen to Pryor's argument today in this live. And part of his argument was that Chad wanted him to be his attorney and he wanted to be the attorney. That he was okay and would definitely finish it out if he had to. Tess says Pryor screwed himself over by saying that Chad wanted him as his attorney. That was his big mistake if he wanted out. He also had ample time to get assistance. He wanted continuance, and JB said no. Mayla's mom doesn't know either. JC, I'll try to find one of his. I bet you I could find it on YouTube. Okay, so let's listen to this and then we'll go. I want to show you guys something that happened at the end.
Maybe a year, maybe even more. Because for new counsel to come in, start over from scratch on a complex case like this, not have any review of discovery or any preparation, they would have to reasonably request time to get prepared, which would have to be granted. Mr. Pryor was raising concerns about trying to get second counsel appointed. And I've tried to accommodate that, Mr. Pryor. We had a hearing, it was exactly a year ago, on January 19th of 2023, and talked about your concern. The way I interpreted Rule 44.3, while it doesn't really address a situation with a private attorney together with a public defender, I don't think the rule necessarily prohibits that either. And so I approved that you could have co-counsel if you could find someone, but of course, they would have to be on that approved roster because this is a capital case. I don't doubt that you've made a diligent effort to try to find co-counsel. That's clear to the court. I know we've addressed that over the course of the last year on numerous occasions, the status of whether or not someone was coming into the case. We're on the eve of trial and no one has come into the case. With that in mind, then, the court has to also look at the impact that could potentially have. If Mr. Pryor withdraws from the case, Mr. Daybell is required to start over, abandon an attorney-client relationship that's been ongoing for several years, start over with a brand new attorney-client relationship with someone that he doesn't know and we can't even tell him who that would be. And also with the delay, I find that that prejudices the defendant. I also would find that given all of the preparation and time that has gone into this trial setting, which has been scheduled out for a long time, made by both the court and obviously the state in being prepared and ready to go, that there should be a presumption that we maintain the trial date. So the two concerns here raised in the motion really are, number one, the fact that Mr. Pryor would not be able to obtain payment for his services. And the court does strongly consider that because attorneys work for their profession and it's important that they get paid and it's a consideration. But that in and of itself does not, in my mind, rise to the level of good cause under the rule 44.1 to grant the withdrawal. The second, and I think more concerning issue, is some indication in the motion of Mr. Pryor indicating that it would be very difficult, if not impossible, to be adequately prepared for trial. That's what's set forth in the motion. However, upon argument here today also, Mr. Pryor has indicated that he has made steps. I don't find anything in the record that he's been ineffective in his assistance of Mr. Daybell's defense in the case. And so with the concerns today being brought up and addressed directly by the court, both in open and closed proceedings, I don't find any specific grounds indicating that Mr. Pryor has said he cannot and would not be ready and prepared to adequately defend his client, although it may be difficult and he apparently will not be able to be compensated. It's not in the record that it can't be done. And importantly also, Mr. Daybell has affirmed today he does intend and would like to keep Mr. Pryor as his attorney in this case. And finally, I'll note that in addressing these concerns at that hearing a year ago, there was a representation by Mr. Pryor who said directly to this court, and I'll quote what was said in the hearing,
Yes,
quote,
Mr.
"There's
Tomato
going
Head.
to be no continuance because I'm asking to get out of this case. That will not happen." And the courts relied all along on those representations in getting this case scheduled. So in balancing all that out and looking at whether—
Wow, I missed that. So he quoted Pryor in the past saying that that will not happen, him being off the case. Dang, he pulled out, I'm just surprised. I'm shocked by Judge Boyce. I've not necessarily always been thrilled with the decisions that he's made, but I find this one very interesting. And I thought if he makes him stay on, the state must pay him, right? But the way I understood it when listening yesterday is the law would prohibit that because he would have to have that death penalty qualification, whatever those extra training courses, whatever that was. And Pryor, if you watch the full thing, I'll drop the link in the chat right now. But at the beginning, when he gives his side, he says, I'm qualified. I just never did the certification. So I have everything that you have to be qualified. I just didn't do it.
or not good cause has been demonstrated today. I do not
Here's the
find that
link
there is
coming
good
right now in
cause
the
for
chat.
withdrawal of counsel. And so under Criminal Rule 44.1, upon consideration of that standard, the court is going to deny your motion to withdraw, Mr. Pryor. I will note that I've previously made an approval for a second chair. If one can and will join the case, then
Nodded his
the
head.
court will permit that, and we'll go through the procedure to get that
Now,
properly
pay
done.
very close attention because he gets up, walks over to the prosecution, and says, "We're ready to talk about an agreement." I forget exactly the words, but I want you to hear. And then I've pulled it to the part of Nate Eaton's video where he's talking about that specific moment. Because it's Pryor like, well, if I have to do this without getting paid, let's get it over with. That's interesting to me. The way that was his first thing that he did. So watch and listen close. We only have about a minute and a half.
So that's not a foregone conclusion. Given the timeliness of the trial, I understand that may be difficult. However, we are where we are with this trial setting. And because of the proximity of trial and the necessity of a continuance, if this motion were granted, the court finds that the motion fails to demonstrate good cause under the rule. For that reason, the motion is going to be denied. And Mr. Pryor, you will continue to represent Mr. Daybell through these proceedings. That'll be the ruling on the motion today, and I'll note that we do have more hearings scheduled and coming up, including motions and a pretrial conference. So, Mr. Pryor, do you have any questions on my ruling?
No, Judge. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Ms. Blake, any questions on the court's ruling? All right, thanks everyone for your attendance.
Okay,
That will
watch.
conclude today's proceedings. We'll be in recess.
All right.
Bye, Chad. He says something. Chad nods his head. We want to talk about the agreement is what it sounds like. I'm going to rewind it. All right, let's hear that one more time. Just one more time. I'm going to mute for a second so you can really hear.
We want to talk about the agreement.
I cannot believe it. What do you guys think? He doesn't want to go to trial. That's what I heard too. Kathy said, wow, I know. I'm trying to hear the hot mic. I know. I can't believe it picked it up that well. Okay, so we love your, I don't know how to say that word, your little poems, Patricia. Of course we want to hear it. Intriguing, I know. I heard that, Danielle says. Show me says interesting. So later on, Nady, and he does this series, Courtroom Insider, and I think I've got it right at the part where he goes to talk about that little hot mic moment. So let's see.
Okay, so motion was denied, but I want you to watch something here. The second that the judge left the courtroom, John Pryor, I'm going to go to the video. So I'm going to talk over the video. Watch screen right. John Pryor stood up and walked right over to the prosecutor and began chatting with them. Now, I did not hear what they said. I was in the courtroom, but a lot of you picked it up. The camera caught it. And a lot of people were saying, is he discussing a plea agreement? Is he discussing some sort of mediation? Mediation has been held in the past, but it's gotten nowhere. And Chad would need to admit to all three deaths, Tammy, JJ, and Tylee.
Mediation has been held in the past, but got nowhere. Chad would have to admit to all three deaths. I love Nady and too. He has done such a fabulous job. There are a few journalists who have Justin Lum who have just done excellent jobs, and also Pointer Lover or Tess, one of you guys, would you mind to drop Crush's link, because she is Kay's daughter and Charles Vallow's niece, and she has a YouTube channel, and she talks about a lot of these developments happening as well. Mayla's mom says, I'd like to put a kite in. Chat is making fun of us for not knowing Richard Pryor, so I'm gonna snitch. Okay, thank you, Tess. Thank you. Difficult research, yes. And her name is Kresha. And thank you guys. I don't have it in my Nightbot. That's why I ask.
For the prosecutor to be
I don't think I
content
do.
with
Let me
a
see.
plea agreement. And it would likely be life in prison without parole rather than the death penalty. So in just a couple of seconds here, you're going to see all the parties will stand, and then John will immediately go over to Lindsay and Rob, who he hadn't talked much with during the breaks or before the hearing, anything like that today. He will go over to them and he's whispering something to Chad. Look at that. And then he goes over to Lindsay and Rob. Oh, and there it's full screen. You see them chatting. They muted the mic, so we couldn't hear what they were saying. But, you know, we don't know what they were saying. The camera stayed on for a little bit of time.
Thank you, Iffy Angel.
What do you think? Were they talking about a plea agreement? No plea agreement to report tonight. Could happen, though. Maybe John Pryor is going to say, okay, judge denied that. Let's do a plea agreement. Let's make that happen. So I wonder.
I just asked you guys because I knew for sure you knew.
I want to give you a quick update on Lori Vallow. The judge or the attorneys down there and the judges granted filed a motion that it's a complex case. You might recall they originally set her trial date for April, same time as Chad's. That's not going to happen.
B Crumbs, call me whenever this evening. I'll be around. I thought about doing another live. I'll probably wait and do that one tomorrow, I guess. I don't know. I want to go through. There's 2 lives I have planned that I need to do before Adam Montgomery's trial starts. So, but yeah, call me. Call me, as Jen Lou says.
It's been deemed a complex case in Arizona.
I can't do it.
It will maybe happen end of this year, maybe early next year. But that's kind of about it for her as far as her trial down there. The appeal continues here in Idaho. It's quite possible. However, I should say that the clerk filed a motion or filed a request to ask for a delay, but ask for more time to hand over the transcript. She's got to hand over the transcript of the whole trial.
Okay, so I'm going to drop this link as well. If you don't watch Courtroom Insider, you're missing out. Nadine is brilliant. It's an awesome show he does after they have court. He's Search and Rescue. He also has his own channel. So East Idaho News. Bye, Christine. Have a good day, babe. East Idaho News. He was part of developing East Idaho News. But so you can support that channel and still support him, but you can also support his personal channel. Yes, Search and Rescue. So I changed something in the Patreon. I wanted to take away the $10 tier because I just didn't feel that was fair when I created it. I didn't have monetization on the channel and all that stuff. So everybody is $5 tier now. And people that were moved down had some trouble accessing this stuff. So I've reached out to Patreon. And as soon as I get an answer, I'll let you guys know. But you can access everything in the if you can't get into the group chat because you're on the computer or something, let me know and I'll send you any links or any posts that go over there. But also I'll put them in the group chat as well, so you don't miss anything. Oh, Music City Mom, we love you back. Bye, Punksy. Have a good day. Okay, so now let's go over to Twitter because this is kind of how I wanted to wrap this up, was like getting people's opinions on this. And including y'all's opinions. You know, as soon as they hear that he has to stay on the case, he walks over and they want to talk about some agreement. Now, Neat Noodle made a point that these are usually normal things that happen in cases and stuff. And that's true. However, it's a big deal that they've tried to have mediation before and couldn't work out a deal. I wonder if he's going to be willing. I don't see Chad ever admitting to those 3 deaths. I don't see it for nothing. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. I think his children would probably be very surprised if he did too, just based on what we've heard from them so far. We need a kiosk bot. I need to do some new emojis for you guys, and I will. And then, yeah, search and rescue. Just reach out to me, but also I'll make sure to send you any of the things that get posted there, any live streams, stuff like that. That way you don't miss it until I hear from Patreon and I figure out exactly what we have to do. But thank you guys. And I apologize. I was trying to look out for you guys and ended up screwing everybody. Really, you know, I just did like 8 episodes of The Floor is Lava with the girls, and good Lord, I'm exhausted. I even walk 7 miles a day. Oh, you guys are cute. Maybe he wants a manslaughter charge in the plea agreement. Well, yeah, you're right. I guess he could, you know, ask for whatever he wants. I just spoke to her emojis, etc. I bet he will ask for an Alford plea and not get it. Isn't that where you don't admit that you're guilty? Thank you, Tess. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, JC. Lynn says, if you join the tier, it will automatically stop your subscription. You will have to rejoin another tier. Anybody that this happens to, if you try to rejoin another tier or something like that, I don't want you to be charged twice. Please reach out to me. I will send you the money back. Please, please, please. Because that's going to defeat the entire purpose of what I was trying to do. So, okay, let's look on Twitter and see what people have to say. Kathy Russin tweets, John Pryor, I want to stay on this case. I couldn't care less about the money. Judge, that's not what your motion says, which is like pretty much exactly what happened. Let me give you the link to this live. I don't think I dropped it or to this hearing so you guys can see it. But John Pryor gets up and says, thank you, Lynn. I appreciate that, babe. John Pryor gets up and says, you know, I want to stay on the case. I don't care if I get paid. And the judge is like, that doesn't line up with your motion. But okay. Kathy Alford is, I proclaim my innocence, but realize the state has enough evidence to try and convict me. Alford plea basically says you can find me guilty based on overwhelming evidence, but I'm not going to say I'm guilty. Lil Red says there is no way he's getting out of a long prison sentence. No one will agree to that on this case. I love hearing from you guys. And I love, like, I always enjoy like comment sections. I think it's cool to hear from just random people on the internet and what they think, whether it's from, you know, celebrity gossip, true crime, you know, anything, any subject. I just appreciate the comment section. Okay, Nadine tweeted this. I hadn't seen this yet. Statement from Kay and Larry Woodcock in regards to John Pryor asking to withdraw as Chad's attorney. There's nothing in this journey that surprises us anymore. It is what it is, and his trial will be when it happens. It's in the Lord's hands. Who are we to question him? Oh my God, if you don't fall in love with Kay and Larry, I just don't know. I feel like they have been the heart of this entire thing from the beginning, before the kids were found. I'll never forget when the kids were finally found and they went up to where they were found. And it's just been a long emotional journey. Thank you, Mr. Tomato Head. Welcome. Thank you for joining. They are so strong. And don't forget Larry coming out of the courthouse from Lori's singing JJ's song and all the things. Like, they're just precious. Okay, let's see. Let's go to the latest. Let's see. Judge won't let lawyer dump cult leader Chad Daybell. Looks like Daybell will face the death penalty with a less than robust defense team. If anyone deserves the death penalty, it's this guy, says Rick Allen Ross. Excited Utterance says, so do you want What? So, do you want out or do you want in? In or out? John Pryor looked a little indecisive at this week's hearing with his client, Chad Daybell. K.L. DeBarge says, Judge Boyce, the best of the best. Rebecca Leach, at Court TV, why does Chad Daybell have the exact same expression on his face every time we see him? I expect that soon he will open his mouth to speak, but will only croak like a toad. Ribbit. That is from Rebecca. Oh, Rainbow Mom, thank you for being a member for 12 months. And Neat, thank you for being a member for 6 months. Just wanted to make sure you pay attention to me. Oh, you guys are the best. Yeah. I expect that soon he will open his mouth to speak, but only a croak like a toad. But will only croak like a toad. Katarina says, Chad, dude, nice try. You're up to bat you're up to bat next. What's wrong with me? I can't read today or speak. All right, let's see. Kresha posted her live unraveling the mystery of Chad Daybell and Lori Daybell. That is who the link we just dropped. It's called Difficult Research. I definitely would check them out. Check her out, rather. Not being death penalty qualified makes counsel for Chad Daybell per se ineffective. Perhaps not in Idaho, but when federal habeas comes around, any death sentence will likely not stand. Hearsay says the disbarred attorney. I don't know what that's about. Truth and Deliberation says, seems to me the judge just gave grounds to be used later on appeal. Thoughts? I'm curious what you guys think about that. Harvard lawyer Lee says, Richard Allen's original attorneys were asking to be reinstated on the Delphi murders case, and the Indiana Supreme Court said yes. Meanwhile, Chad Daybell's lawyer wanted out, and the trial court said no. Interesting day. Nick Vanderleek, I do think this is very bad form from his attorney. He deserved a rebuke from the judge. Motion to withdraw rejected. Case will be heard on April 1st as scheduled. Chad Daybell's attorney's motion to withdraw denied. Death penalty trial set to proceed. Chad Daybell's attorney ordered to stay on the case despite not getting paid. How do you guys feel about that? Is it fair? Is it unfair? You know, is this something that he should have known was going to happen? And he says John Pryor's motion to withdraw has been denied. He will remain counsel. Daybell faces death penalty for the murders of Tammy, and his wife, and the 2 children, Tylee and JJ. Joshua Ritter says breaking, Chad Daybell's trial will not be delayed. April's shaping up to be a busy month for the Vallow Daybells, with Lori's Arizona trial to start around the same time. How do you see the next few months playing out? This is going to be very interesting. Do you guys think that he plans on throwing Lori under the bus? That's kind of where I'm at right now. I believe that he's going to blame it all on Lori and Alex, and I don't think it's going to work for him, but it may work, you know, for his kids and people like that. So Bernice Sykes says, Attorney Pryor will remain on Chad Daybell murder case, paid or not. If he can find 2D chair, fine. If he can't, oh well. No delays, said Judge Boyce, and you withdrawing will set this case back more than a year. That is not happening. Will Nate go to Arizona? I don't know. I hope so. Probably throw everybody under the bus. Jamie said, yep. Pointer lover, I do the top chat all the damn time. It's frustrating. I'm sorry. Not fair, in my opinion, Show Me says. Him having to work without being paid. Neat Noodle, he did know it would happen. It's his own doing. I wonder how much he's already been paid. And apparently he has the title to his home. Hey, Crown Watch lover. It's what everyone wanted, though, if you watched the hearing. Trulia, he got Chad's house. Teacup, he screwed himself. Tess says he literally looks like a human thumb. Okay. Well, Amber on her channel has a Family Guy emoji for Chad. Remember, why is my brain not working? Remember when Lori had that phone call with Colby and he called him, what's his name? My brain's not even working at all. Peter Griffin. Yes, Nate said he would be in Arizona. Are his adult kids still standing by him? I don't know. Anon and on. They were. I haven't seen anything about him for a while. If you guys have, let me know. Oh, Shauna, thank you. Love you and your laughs. Love you back. All right, you guys. So I guess we're going to wrap it up there for today. We'll be back soon to go through some Adam Montgomery stuff and maybe some other things that happen. Human thumb. Just thank you guys for being here so much. I appreciate you more than you know. And yeah, we're definitely going to watch these things play out. We're going to watch. I just can't get over all the trials we have coming up. Chad and Lori again. Adam Montgomery, Brian Koberger, Sarah Boone. I mean, just so much. Real Pocahontas said, here in Grand Junction, Colorado, a few days ago, these people were cleaning out the garage of the home they had just bought and found a human head in the freezer. Oh my God. I'm sorry I wouldn't keep the freezer. Would not keep the freezer. Thank you, Nana. Thank you, Jamie, for being here. Love you back, Real Pocahontas. All right, you guys, I'm going to let you go. I will see you soon. If you need anything, you guys reach out to me. It's on the bottom of the screen. We have not muted on a live and kept it muted by accident for almost a week. Tomorrow's going to be a week. I can't freaking believe it. Cannot believe it. Oh, love you, Mayla's mom. All right, you guys, have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Thank you to my mods. I appreciate you so much. All right, guys, bye.